My guest today is Magnus Erikson. Magnus is the founder and chief executive officer at Echandia Marine, and they're located in Stockholm, Sweden, and they are focused on, among other things, we're going to talk about it, the electrification of ferry boats. And I've been doing, it seems to me, an unusual number of marine stories of late. But that's cool. I love doing those. So once upon a time in a life long ago, I had wanted to be a naval architect, so I'm envious.
Right. Yeah.
You can see my sailboat in the back there, right?
Yeah.
And behind that is a blueprint of the USS Constitution.
Wow, that's cool.
So yeah, I do have an interest in things marine. So one of these days I'll figure out what I want to do for a living. But anyway, let's start off, Magnus, by talking about Echandia Marine. Give us a brief on who you guys are.
Yeah, we're a fairly small Swedish development company, and this year we're going commercial with our products. And we're specialized in electric propulsion systems for small commercial boats like city boats, taxis, small city ferries, at about maximum power output, maybe 500-600 kilowatt of shaft power. And what we develop is the propulsion units, and we're system integrators, and we deliver everything from propellers to control systems and touchscreens and everything on board that you need for a fully hybrid or battery electric ship. And particularly what we've been spending some development efforts on is these pod units that we've developed. It's outboard electric motors housed in a watertight housing I'm sure you've heard of the concept before, but what we've done is trying to tweak the concept a little bit and make it cost efficient and specifically tailored for this rather small power outputs that we're talking about, just a few hundred kilowatts. So.
Okay, very good. Well, one of the things, obviously, I'm assuming that got you involved in this is, since you're located in Stockholm, one of the things that interested me was that Stockholm is in kind of like the Venice of Scandinavia. I mean, you've got a lot of islands that make up that city, as I understand it.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Well, in the inner city, there are just a few, maybe 15 to 20 major islands, but just outside Stockholm, there are 40,000 islands in the archipelago here. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities to go sailing around here. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I assume that a lot of those islands must be connected by some type of ferry service.
Yes.
So what, I'm guessing that at the moment, most of those are probably diesel-powered vessels?
Yes, mostly. That's actually the biggest shipping company in Sweden. Is a shipping company linked to the road. What do you call it? In the Transport Association. So it's a state company running the road ferries, the road car ferries, connecting all the islands together. Yes, and most of them are diesel driven, although they've done a few conversions on very tiny, small little ferries already. But that's absolutely an interesting and growing market.
Okay, so what got you involved in this? You started off, I'm gathering, as a marine architect, and I'm assuming, given your the fact that you've got gray hair there, you've been around more than a couple of years, so.
Yeah, but the gray hair doesn't come of age; it comes from something else.
So give us a little. What led up to your, founding Echandia Marine?
Yeah, no, I have a background in the Navy business, and still am involved in marine projects for the Swedish Navy, developing all different kinds of systems, and. After 10 years in that business, I wanted to transfer some of that know-how into civilian projects. I set up this Echandia Marine company as a basis for trying to promote the ideas and concepts we had for certain underwater applications in Sweden, torpedoes and submarines and stuff. And that's how it started out, actually, trying to transfer some of the know-how into the application for civilian boats, basically. And also in Sweden, the shipbuilding industry is not that big anymore. So if you, as I am a naval architect, and if you want to work with building boats of some kind of advanced type, you're either referred to work with Navy projects or something like this, electrical, something that entails some development. So I started out in the Navy business, and I realized here's some need for the technical development in terms of electrical propulsion. So yeah, that's what's been drawing me from the Navy to these city boats that I'm currently.
As a startup, I'm always interested in how these teams come together. So how did you get the folks that you're working with to come on board? Pardon the pun.
Well, yeah, it started out, the co-founder of the company is my wife, so
okay.
that was fairly easy. And from then we expanded the management team with people I got in contact with through my suppliers and through other networks, naval architects, power engineers, electricians, EV vehicle people, people working on local power companies around here. So we're 5-6 persons on the management team of Echandia Marine at the moment. And we're also employing a lot of sub-consultants working with us, developing our products and strategies and stuff. And we're now expanding abroad with distributors and sales agents in different places. So we're just taking it step by step and trying to be focused now focus on Europe at the moment. But
okay.
Let's see.
So let's talk about the technology that you're working on here. I noticed from the website that there is there's a power boat that I guess belongs to the company that's sort of your prototype test bed or something like that. Talk about the technology that you brought together. How much of that are you more or less an integrator of various technologies, or are you manufacturing some of that, commissioning some of it, and designing it?
We design and manufacture the pod units ourselves completely. That's our own in-house developed product. We develop all the software for maneuvering and control of all the maneuvering of the pods and control systems, energy management systems for all the power systems, batteries and generators as well. Battery modules we buy from 3 short-listed suppliers,
okay.
But depending on application, we offer to our customers. So we don't develop batteries, we don't develop the battery management systems ourselves. We don't develop diesel generators or other more exotic types of generators. So we're focusing on what is marine unique, and that's like the propulsion units that is, like in this case, for the pod units in the water.
Right.
We also have inboard electric motors as well. So depending on if it's a conversion project, maybe it's cheaper, faster to just replace the inboard stuff and keep the existing propeller shaft.
Okay.
So
are these all electric, or are there some hybrid components to this as well?
Both battery electric and hybrid electric. It's fairly easy. It's a very flexible electrification system we offer to our customers. From 100% battery electric, hybrid, or even diesel electric if they want to start on that scale. They're all electric one way or the other because the boat is always propelled by the electrical motor, but they're different, what do you call it?
Energy sources, I would say.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So,
yes.
Well, and as I understand it, and you know, particularly, I mean, this technology really goes back 100 years to, you know, submarines have, your experience there, have always been diesel electric of some form or another until we got to the nuclear age, and then they started using nuclear power plants. But up to that point, These were hybrid electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that a lot of the vessels that are at sea are that kind of configuration already?
Yeah, it's extremely similar in the system layout. In a conventional submarine and how it's laid out in our boats, in our propulsion systems, the principles are the same. It's a hybrid setup where we're not going to talk about submarines perhaps, but you're running fully electric when submerged, and then you have either diesel generators or other air-independent generators, fuel cells or Stirling generators or something.
Right. Well, and on some of the ferries, I'm guessing that because they're wanting to do maneuvering, even some of the cruise ships use I'm guessing they're electric thrusters that that'll allow the boat to move laterally. So I'm assuming you can probably the people in the marine industry are familiar. This isn't brand new technology like we're trying to introduce to people that drive automobiles. The people in the marine industry have been familiar with this sort of technology for some time now.
Absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just a different kind of shipping markets are appearing now. Maybe they're viable for electric boats, city ferries, smaller boats. I mean, big boats, cruise ships, some naval ships has been going electric for, as you said, over 100 years. So yeah, in certain applications, it's not a new thing at all. So yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about how what's your sort of your business model at this point? What are you anticipating, and what are you shooting for as a company here?
Yeah. Well, we're a systems integrator. We want to develop. We want to be able to offer complete onboard systems for ship owners. We also supply. That's another part of our business model. Supply energy solutions through our fast charging stations that we establish on the quay, in the harbor, in the dock. So we have two different areas. Business areas. It's the onboard systems and it's the infrastructure part where we establish and supply electrical energy supplies to our customers. That's the setup.
Okay, so I'm assuming that power then for these superchargers comes from the local grid?
Yeah, that's correct. In Sweden we have a very stable grid, power grid, so we can withdraw a lot of power without causing any problems to the grid or having any interruptions in the power supply. So when we go abroad and in different locations, the grid is not so strong, so you may have to think differently, either compensating the weak grid with some other power supply, batteries or generators or something.
So what's the biggest vessel that you've equipped or worked on at this point?
It's a 24 meter. It's just small passenger boats, 24-meter passenger boats. This year is the launch of the commercial phase of the company. So we're working with a handful of projects at the moment, and the first boats are now being converted. So we're very early on.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm curious as to how long it takes to recharge, a car ferry or a passenger ferry. I guess we're probably talking about small passenger ferries and not the large car ferries, are we?
Absolutely. No, we have a saying drive for an hour and charge for 10 minutes at like the average power consumption, and that's what we can deliver for these kind of rather small city ferries where you have a few hundred kilowatt hours of energy installed and average consumption below 100 kilowatts.
Yeah.
So yes. Where the batteries we install needs to specifically be able to withstand the high sea rates or high charging currents.
So you're not alone in this field. There's a number of companies that are doing this. I found there were two in Norway. There's the company that I did an interview with here several weeks ago, that is working with Scandia Lines. They're providing the battery storage banks, and that's I think, a Siemens drive system for those you know, the ferries that are operating between Germany and Denmark. So what's that? Is that a lot of competition, or you just or is this still a pretty wide open field?
No, it's the big companies like Siemens and ABB, like the big giants. They are, of course, present in the market, but they're coming from like slightly bigger ships, and we're approaching this from small scale applications rather. And I guess we meet somewhere here down the line where our interests coincide. But so yes, we're competing with like Siemens and ABB in terms of the onboard systems. But what we have to our advantage, I think, is that we're more agile, more flexible, and more adaptable to like the customers, so we can probably respond faster. Particularly when it comes to like conversion projects, we have to be a bit flexible for customers who wants to like convert their existing fleet. I think we have more of a better approach. It's easier to work with us than working with Siemens, I would say.
Yeah.
But that's for a company like Siemens, and I want to talk about Siemens, of course. Yes.
Okay, so you've got small vessels. What's the largest that you're aiming at in terms of displacement?
That's not so easy to answer, really, because I mean, I think I said initially, the motors we have on the shelf comes in power stages up to 280 kilowatt per piece.
Okay.
So, and in terms of a wisely energy philosophy on the boat, I wouldn't say that we would work with boats that have more than maybe 700 kilowatts installed.
Okay.
Because the power then becomes so big, and then just it becomes a negative spiral of needs, energy needs, power needs, and it drives costs, and it drives weight, etc. So in terms of displacement, what does mean in displacement? It could be maybe a few hundred tons of displacement, maybe, but not bigger boats than that.
Okay. How big is that market, do you think?
Big, I guess. Few tens of thousands of boats in Europe that needs converting, and I'm not sure about the States at the moment, but in Europe alone, I think the market consists of maybe a few 10,000 boats.
And that would keep you guys busy, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so what are your expectations for the company here within let's say 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. In 5 years, I think then I see in front of me that we've expanded and we have a very established position in like key markets in Europe. In 10 years, maybe widen that scope. But the short-term goal is to have Sweden, Nordic countries, and Europe. And we want to be recognized there as a reliable supplier. And I know that we will be fighting against these other big giants. And so I'm sure it's going to take a little time to gain confidence in this particularly, what do you call it in English? The shipping industry is very traditional. So it takes time to transform a market again.
Right.
Maybe in 10 years we have increased the market for China Marine to other parts in the world as well. But we're starting with Europe.
Okay. Any of this applicable beyond the marine market? Railroads, airlines, any of this type of thing that might, let's take the supercharger, for example, might have applicability for yard locomotives and that kind of thing?
Yeah, possibly, but we're working with a few of our suppliers on other projects as well. But we're focusing on the marine industry. We don't have any intention to expand into vehicles on land or in the air at the moment. Okay.
So how are you? I assume this is what, friends and family funding on this? Any grants? How are you? How are you keeping the
It's a combination. It started off with a private network of friends who invested some money, and then we've taken on some new investors, and we have grants. Particularly the Swedish Energy Agency, who have supported us in the last few years, and the Swedish Innovation Agency as well. So without those two agencies, it would be really hard to have come this far, I would say.
Right. So which I'm curious about the the submarine piece. That's not, I don't mean nautical submarines, but in terms of we're wanting to learn more about the ocean bottom, whether it's to find methane hydrates or whether it's to locate missing aircraft, and that seems like that whole submerged UAV market is kind of an interesting one. Is that an area that, given your expertise, would be attractive to you?
Possibly, but I'm limited to what I'm allowed to do when it comes to submerged projects, actually, because I'm binded by some other obligations in that direction. So, no, we're at the moment focusing on surface ships.
Vessels. Okay. All right, great. So when do you when's your first vessel launch? When do you want to see that champagne bottle broken over the bow and the first hybrid or fully electric? And will it be hybrid or will it be fully electric, the first vessel?
The first vessel is going to be a hybrid, actually being able to run fully electric, but it's supported by generators if necessary. So the aim is to run fully electric and supported by generators. And we're converting a boat right now. It's in the dock being converted right now. What limits us, the boat is going to be launched in June. What limits us to claim that actually it's fully launched is the infrastructure part with the charging stations that we're establishing at the same time. So the boat will be able to run. It's not going to be able to supercharge until later this summer. So that's why we're saying August for the official launch.
Okay, so looking forward to that then. So your wife going to break the bottle over the bow, or you've got someone else, or the ship owner will be doing that?
No, my wife will get the honor. Who knows?
Okay, very cool, great. Well, look, when that happens, you let us know. All right.
Okay.
Maybe you can take your iPhone or with something with you, and you can video video when it happens and share that with us.
Okay, we will get in touch when it's getting closer to the launch. All right.
All right. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Magnus. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.